Joining me right now is U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow. Thanks so much for stopping by. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
A lot of the conversations that people are having up here are talking about civility in politics.
Yes.
And you are on the front lines of what's happening in Washington right now. And I guess I would like just to start off and ask you, how would you describe our civility or lack thereof in politics right now?
Well, I think it's difficult and it's complicated. Let me just start first with just what I do every day, because I get up every day, suit up, go in and work with whoever will work with me to get things done for Michigan. And that's how we got a 5-year farm bill done, working across the aisle. I hosted our chairman from Kansas, Senator Pat Roberts, 2 weeks ago in Michigan. We did a field hearing saying we're going to work together. You know, we're going to make this a partisan-free zone. I work on protecting the Great Lakes with Rob Portman, my colleague across the aisle. There's been issue after issue. So things, if you put your head down, you can work together to get things done. But I would say in the big picture, it is more difficult than ever. It's not easy when we have a president tweeting every day and maybe attacking individual members or other countries or whatever. There's a tone that's been set that I think has honestly unleashed, you know, a permission for people to fight and say hateful things that's not helpful. But I try to just keep my head down and work with people. There's too much that needs to get done. And there actually are people that work together across the aisle and want to get things done. And so I try to keep myself focused on that.
You said that you made your way up to Mackinac by going up the Huron coast and talking to people. What do people say to you in terms of possibly their disillusionment about the role of government and how it can actually work, or the fact that people like to say that it's broken? How do you respond to them in that way?
Well, first of all, people just want us to work together and get things done. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Right.
You know, they're working hard every day. They're taking care of their families, and they're looking around going, what are you guys doing? Why can't you just sit down and work things out? And so I think that's the practical, common sense Michigan way, frankly. So that's what I do. And yesterday we were talking about the Great Lakes. One of the things that's brought people together in a bipartisan way is the fact that the president's budget would zero out all the funding to protect the Great Lakes. And so everybody's going, what is that about? And so a lot of people talking to me about that. Not only 40 million people get their drinking water from the Great Lakes, but it's tens of thousands of jobs. It's fishing, boating, hunting.
It's billions of dollars in the economy. And
billions.
So the fact that it would go from a $300 million expenditure to zero.
Right.
How do you convince then the rest of Congress that, you know what, even if this is not in your backyard, it is in your best interest to try to get that money back in the budget?
Well, first of all, we've organized, we have a Great Lakes caucus, and Senator Rob Portman and I chair it. It's bipartisan. We have one in the House as well. We have met. This is an all-hands-on-deck moment for all 8 states and the governors of the states and so on to be involved. We're also working with other states that have bodies of water that are important for our country, like Chesapeake Bay or the Gulf of Mexico, that are under attack as well. So they basically said, we're not going to fund any of the efforts to protect waters. And so we're specifically making a case that with the Great Lakes, we're 20% of the fresh water of the world. We work with Canada. We can look very close to here, see another country that has relationships and agreements with our country.
Well,
not
the International
with Michigan.
Joint Commission.
International Joint Commission. It's not Michigan and Canada. It's the United States and Canada working together on these huge resources and bodies of water. And so this is not something that can be done locally by Mackinac City or Alpena or Grand Haven on the other side of the state or by the state. This has got to be done nationally. And it's a relatively small amount of money for the billions, tens of billions of dollars in economic activity and jobs, as well as the 40 million people who get their drinking water from the Great Lakes.
And there's so many different restoration projects that maybe people don't understand. I mean, when you're talking about wetlands, or you're talking about restoring some different areas, how they do have an impact on the cleanliness of the water and the health of the lakes.
We can go right around Michigan, Christy, and I can show you beaches that have been cleaned up that people can swim in now because of the Great Lakes Restoration Funds. We also know other areas where we're in the middle of cleanup efforts that need to be done as well. And so all around Michigan, there are efforts going on that people, families, every day, when the weather gets warm, are going to be out and enjoying those efforts. And the beaches are cleaner, the water is cleaner, because of what we have been doing over the years to clean up the Great Lakes.
Do you envision that that's going to be one of the toughest battles that you're going to have to face in Washington?
It's certainly one. I would not say it's the only one. We are seeing huge attacks on healthcare, nursing home care, home health care. What's been done in Michigan to expand opportunities for families to take the children to the doctor, with what's been done over the last several years, state and federally, 97% of the children in Michigan can now go to the doctor. And the state's actually saving money because fewer people are using the emergency room, waiting till the kids get sick. And so the state of Michigan is saving hundreds of millions of dollars in healthcare costs because people are seeing a doctor. So this budget actually over 10 years takes $1.5 trillion out of Medicaid healthcare. That would basically cut that in half. Most of that funding goes for seniors in nursing homes. So if your mom's got Alzheimer's, or dad's got Parkinson's, or someone else needs long-term care, this is huge cut in healthcare for people. So that's a major area for me as well.
So I was going to ask you, ever since the repeal of Obamacare, so many people say, well, you know what, now it goes to the Senate, and we're going to start to see some regulation there, that we're going to start to see some differences made there. What conversations have you had so far in dealing with it?
Well, I'm very concerned that instead of focusing on out-of-pocket costs for too many people that are too high, and I'm very focused on working with small businesses on that, and have a tax cut that would take a 50% tax cut on small businesses that are providing health insurance. But instead of dealing with that and the high cost of prescription drugs, what the House sent the Senate was basically unraveling the whole healthcare system, which means everybody's costs are going up, their coverage is going down, and to add insult to injury, all the savings is taken for a tax cut for multimillionaires and billionaires. So this comes to us. At the moment, there is not the kind of bipartisan discussions going on that we need to have. What I think they ought to do is just put that in the trash bin, and we ought to sit down and say, how do we build on this system so that people are paying less and getting more health care? And there's a way to do that that brings down costs. We've seen it again in Michigan. Expanding Medicaid health care actually brought down costs, and more people can go to the doctor. So there's ways to do that, and that's what we should be focused on, not unraveling the whole system, which is just making everybody's insurance costs go up.
Well, you have a lot of work cut out for you in Washington, and thanks so much for stopping by so we could catch up. Senator Debbie Stabenow, thanks so much for joining us.